Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. Literally, it looks like we were having some technical difficulties. So before we even get it cracking, let's check on this right now and see if it's working. It's not working. It's still saying coming soon. I don't know what's going on. Hold on. There it is. There it is. There we are. All right, guys. Looks like everything is working properly. Let me tweet out the new link to you guys. It looks like it appears to be working. Smitty, let me just double check again. Yeah, there it is. There it is. There it is. Yep. All right. Welcome back, good people. Sim Standard Radio, Sim Standard Hangout, whatever you prefer, episode 125. We're back. We apologize for the hiccup, the technical difficulty. Hopefully you guys are seeing us now. Let me run through what I went through real quickly before we got cut off. You can see I'm in the dining room area, which means, yes, I have my son with me. My wife has her part-time job on Thursdays. But like I said, I don't expect her to keep it that long because every time she starts to do a little part-time job, just to have a little, we don't need the money, but she claims that she wants to do this to pay off some of her bills on her own, like credit cards and such. But every time she does it, what happens? I don't want it no more, and she quits. So we'll see how long this continues. But for right now, I have my son with me. I'm sure you guys can hear him in the background. You're just going to have to deal with that. I'm a family man. Hey, what you want me to do? But anyway, guys, we're definitely going to go around and see how everybody's week was. Right now, it's just Smitty and myself, so we'll definitely talk about, football. And then I'll jump into the topics. Basically, the topics are what you see in the title, but I'll give you more of an explanation of what we want to cover. Hopefully, we could get Rex on tonight. He said it's a possibility. I can't guarantee it. He couldn't guarantee it, but we'll see what happens. But right now, let's throw it to Smitty, man. How was your weekend? How do you feel about your Carolina Lions right
now? Week was good. Lions, and they dropped, they weren't able to. It was a combination of, you had some very bad coach calls on the field, but at the same time, our offense really couldn't get it going. We couldn't move the ball downfield, so, it is what it is in that regard. We tried to, we did what we could do, which unfortunately wasn't that much, but, got to see what these cats do this week. I didn't even check to see who it was they play this week. I'm not sure. I thought it was the Vikings that they have to play this week. But what I will say, yeah, it's the Vikings. So we go to the Vikings this week, and then I think next week or the week after we play. What's the names? We play the Jaguars, and then but it's a short week though, so it's gonna be pretty tough. But we play the Vikings at home on Thanksgiving Day. So we'll see how that all pans out these next few games here. It's gonna be a tough little stretch, but I feel that they'll get more on page, they'll get more in sync. Because honestly, they should have won that Texas game. To be brutally honest, it shouldn't have came down to bonehead decision making. Like, they should have honestly won the game. But I will say on the flip side that Pistons are rolling pretty good. They lost against Brooklyn, and I mean, look, Brooklyn was firing on all dang on cylinders. Their whole team was hot. And I mean, at times, during the course of an 82-game season, you're going to run into some teams at times that are just going to be that smoking hot out the gate. Like, they're just going to be that good that night. But no one's looking at – I mean, unless Brooklyn plays like that all season long, they would be a legitimate contender for the whole East if that were the case. So that's more of an anomaly, one of those nights where everybody is just feeling it, and we couldn't sustain. But one thing is for sure, I love how Stan Van Gundy he takes a no-nonsense approach, and he is both the coach and GM. So while he played a role in re-signing Drummond and giving him that big deal, at the same time, he ain't got no problem putting that brother on the bench doing all that, because he was out there whining and complaining. and he basically sat him down for the rest of the night, and and the team just cruised to L. So I mean, hey, that's a big he laid it into him that you got to step up and be a leader for the squad. If he gonna do things like that, got to step up, man. Can't just be out there whining. You got to step up. I know he's a young dude, but the responsibility is on your shoulders. You wanted to be that guy. Now you in that position. You got to step it up. So, but I'm be looking at my Pistons, a bit tougher and tougher as the season rolls on. But I'm loving our squad right now. We got a lot of depth. We got some great pieces. Love the addition of Ish Smith out there. We could spread the floor, inside, outside game. Tobias and Marcus Morris, they're gonna be a problem. So
where did he come from?
Oh,
who? Ish Smith. Ishe Smith.
Actually. Ishe. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
he came from Philly.
Yeah.
He came from Philly.
We always giving away guys, man. We always giving away guards. I don't understand it. I don't understand it, Smitty. But go ahead.
Nah, he a good. He's a legit piece though. Like, I mean, but he was a journeyman. That's the thing. Like, he's been on like 5 or 6 other squads beforehand. So I don't know why Philly didn't see the value in him. I mean, I seen highlights from game they had with the Hornets, and I mean, just how you miss a layup, you miss a bunny layup, and then come down court, Hornets turn the ball over. You try to come back down to the opposite end, and you try to bang in an alley-oop, and then you miss that. It's like somebody got to grab the reins and be like, all right, look, y'all tripping. Joel Embiid doing his thing. No, he balling. But you got, as a team, I don't want right now the Sixers are like the new they're the Clippers, what the Clippers were in the 90s.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you're really gonna have to step up. There's gonna have to be some control taken for that team. And I mean, honestly, they were a few years removed from being a legit squad. So it's not like they can't get it together. Like, there just needs to be some structure to the talent there, because they got talent. There just has to be some kind of control above those guys. So, but I'll throw it back to you, man.
Yeah, man, I don't have much to say on the football front. Thankfully, we were on a bye, which we're going to need, as well as the Baltimore Ravens were on a bye. So, extra time to prepare for each other. Pretty big matchup this week, man. There's talk of Ben possibly playing. There's talk of Cam Hayward playing, Marcus Gilbert, all of these guys. So we'll see what happens. I think it's interesting, Smitty, because, not being biased, y'all know I never do that, and that's the reason why I have on an EA hat. But not being biased, and I'm going to talk about the biasness with this hat here in a moment. But I think the Steelers could control their destiny, so to speak. You heard Dez come on, and he joined me for Terrible Towel Tuesday. Shout outs to Dez. I think that was a great addition to that episode. But looking at how everybody's playing, none of them are playing good. The Bengals are playing pretty sloppy. We actually beat the Bengals already. Baltimore, it seems like they're on a slide right now. They've lost, I believe 4 games straight. They're losing to guys that you would think a Baltimore Ravens, a real Baltimore Ravens team wouldn't lose to. They're 3-4. The Cincinnati Bengals are 3-4-1. The Steelers are 4-3. So do the math. If the Steelers can get this game, which we definitely need to at least split with Baltimore this year, because Baltimore has had our number for the last 3 out of 6 games or something crazy like that. I can't remember. It might be a little more than that, but I know for a fact they beat us twice last year. They beat us again the year before in the playoffs. So, it's time for the Steelers, I guess, to get another win. Y'all know how that series goes. One of the best rivalries in football. It may be calming down a little bit because it's not the same Ravens. It's not the same Steelers. They're definitely not. But I think they're in control of it. If they can come out, have a good showing in Baltimore, get a win, however they get it, whether it's a close game like they usually be, or if they come out and try to be the better team and put up points. Whatever way they get it, this would be a huge win because you got Dallas coming in the week after that. And looking at that run defense, oh boy, I'm gonna tell you right now. People can say what they want about the Cowboys. We'll see what happens. Listen, I understand that too, but I'm also a person that lives in the now. And right now, the Cowboys look official. Now, I will say this real quick, Smitty, and whoever else is listening. You guys know, just because, I live in Pennsylvania, I don't have an NFC team. I'm only a fan of one team, even though I know people who are fans of 3 teams. You can't do that. But I root for the Eagles and the NFC East. Why not? If Pittsburgh doesn't make it and it's an NFC team that has a chance, I'll root for the Eagles because it's a fellow PA team. The Eagles had them, man. The Eagles could have won that game. Eagles could have very well won that game if you guys watched it Sunday night. They had a chance. They had numerous chances. There were numerous opportunities, but Dallas still won. You can always play the what-if game or woulda, coulda, shoulda. But Dallas still won. But my point is the Eagles, if they get themselves together, they probably could play with Dallas. They showed it. The Giants beat them, early in the opener. We'll see how that matchup turns out. It's going to be interesting seeing with the Eagles and the Giants game, how that turns out this week. But with all that being said, right now, Dallas look for real. They look for real. They look like a team that can contend with any team in the NFC, in my opinion, because of that run game. That's football. If you can run the ball, control the clock, drive downfield, and you got a quarterback that can do enough, you can win football games. Now, I will say this, Smitty, their defense is taking a hit. They got a couple injuries out there. So that's going to be interesting when they come to Heinz Field because if Ben is playing, of course, we got an electric offense. It's going to come down to what we do on defense. It's the same thing I feel about Baltimore. If Baltimore gets a run game going and gets us in trouble, we can have some problems because Flacco is usually pretty good against the Steelers with play action. But at 4-3, they can control their own destiny for now. They could, this is the time when they need to get on a quick run, put a quick 3-4 game win streak together, put themselves in prime position. Because I think a 10-6 might win this division. I don't think none of the teams are that great. I don't think my Steelers are that good. I don't think the Ravens are that good. I don't think the Bengals are that good. And looking at everybody's record right now, it looks like a 10-6 might win that division. So Steelers have a chance, but we need to at least split with both Cincinnati and the Ravens because it's going to come down to us may end up having the same record. And the beautiful thing is we got the Jets game that we won. They both lost. Redskins, one tied, one lost. We won that game. So it might come down to something like that. So we just got to at least get 10 wins. I think that's going to take the division. Real quick, man, just to speak about basketball. Yeah, we got to throw our EA hats on. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But real quick, man, just to talk about basketball, my Sixers, man, it looked like they're doing the same thing they did last year, Smitty. I was so disgusted with them as far as how many losses we had that I stopped watching. But later in the season, I said, you know what, let me see, are we really sorry? Why are we losing? These dudes seem to be able to play with almost everybody until the fourth quarter. They can't close the deal. It's like they're young, they put up points, they take stupid shots, horrible shots. Hold on, man. They take ridiculous shots at the wrong time. I mean, we don't have a real point guard. I mean, Rodriguez I consider him like what Dellavedova was to Kyrie. He's a nice bring-in guy. He can manage, do a few things, but he ain't nobody's starter. And they just do some weird stuff, man, like the shot selection and things of that nature. Hey, you. Hold on, guys. Hey, go back in there. You got to be quiet, okay? But anyway, it's weird. They cannot close, man. The fourth quarter is where they get in trouble. They had, who was that? Houston. I think, yeah, they had them. Or was it OKC? I can't remember which game it was, but it was one game that they lost by 2. It was like 103-101. And I'm like, y'all had the game, man. But it's going to be one of them seasons, I think, again. Embiid balling. I mean, the 2-year process, I guess, worked, but he needs help. Maybe when Ben Simmons comes back, we'll see. I don't know if he's going to be the savior either, because again, we need somebody who can distribute, which he can, but we need a legit guard, at least a legit 2. A threat in the perimeter. I mean, a guy that can move. But I don't know, man. But I'll go ahead and I guess we can tell everybody what we're going to talk about tonight. Yeah, guys, I mean, it's all about Madden. And as you can see, I purposely wore an EA hat. I'm purposely drinking out of an EA cup. The reason why is because people still want to tell me that I'm so biased to EA and I can't say anything bad. And we're going to go in on Madden a little bit here tonight while wearing an EA hat. So this is going to be interesting, but we basically want to talk about this whole simulation mode stuff again. I mean, we've rehashed this over and over and over, but like you guys know, I always say sometimes it's good to go over the same points, because the more you talk about it, the more people get on board, maybe change what happened. But we want to dive a little deeper into it, as far as, is there a real need for simulation mode? What does a simulation mode look like in Madden? Could Madden benefit from having settings like NHL? We've touched on it a little bit here on the show, but we'll go back into that. And can everyone be happy in their own fishbowl if Madden provides the options? Then, if we get a chance, we'll talk a little bit about Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, because that game is tonight. Just want to ask you guys, and me and Smitty can go back with it, how we feel about Durant and Westbrook, as far as how will they react when they see each other tonight? Will it be a handshake? Will it be like some competitive nature? Will it be hate? Was Durant in the wrong for leaving the way he did? I mean, you guys know my feeling about him going to the Warriors. Well, I'll go back over it. But as far as just him and Russell, was he in the wrong the way he handled that if they were so close? Westbrook basically said he found out when we did. So we'll talk about all that. And then hopefully, guys, Rex will have time. I told you guys it wasn't promised, but he said if he can squeeze some time in, he'll come on the show tonight. And we'll just have a conversation about Madden. And what I really want to have him do is talk about, he's not going to be able to say exactly what they're doing for 18, but I want him to reconfirm their vision, their goal, what they're striving for, what he could possibly give us for the near future, anything he can leak out, so to speak, and just to reconfirm that we give them harsh criticism. I want you to hear from his mouth. So that's what we got for you guys to start out. So Smitty, man, I'll let you kick it off. What's up with the simulation mode, man? Is it needed? If it is, what does it look like? How do we design a simulation mode for Madden?
All right. Well, yeah. First of all, it's most definitely needed. But secondly, and man, see, I got my EA hat, but this is the NCAA 13 joint. This is the Barry Sanders old school, Sega Genesis Super Nintendo joint, though. You know what I'm saying? And I need that cup. I need that cup with the handle on it. See, I ain't got no handle on my joint. I need the cup with the handle on it. Got to step my EA Cup game up. No,
got to do the pinky in the air. Got to get real bougie with it.
Right. Got to put your bias game up to 1,000. You know what I'm saying? No, but real talk though, like, yes, you definitely need to have a simulation mode in the game, because when people get online, and I know people saying in the chat, don't say nerf, but that's what's happening. I mean, I'm sorry. We talked about it here on the show before. Madden 15, it got nerfed. Madden 16 got nerfed. Madden 17 has progressively been nerfed many times, like multiple times over. Like, it's a problem, because the things that Rex and these guys say when this game is getting ready to be launched, all of a sudden it's a like it's not, the game is not, the integrity of the game is being watered down. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, for example, Rex will say, like last year, Rex told y'all, Y'all, you got to learn to stop hitting triangle and start pressing square. You know what I mean? So stop, start hitting X. Learn to play that receiver, play the receiver instead of playing the ball all the time. You're going to get burned. He told you. What ended up happening? It got nerfed because people whined and complained. Oh, man, I can't stop nobody. But funny thing was, I said multiple times during last year, no one ever answered the question. I said, tell me all the DBs right now that are better at playing wide receiver than actual wide receivers in the NFL, since they're that good. There's a reason why why even Brandon Garden says it in the game, and it was said, for those of us that played 2K back in the day, they say the same thing. That's why those DBs and linebackers on the defensive side, because they don't have good hands. But then people are upset because they can't be successful in defending the pass one-on-one. Well, yeah, you're at a disadvantage. That's why guys like Richard Sherman, Pat Pete, and so on, now Darius Slay, he didn't step his game up. But that's why those guys get paid that top dollar, because it's extremely hard. That's an extremely hard cover. And they're like, oh, I should just be able to hold this button and I should have the chance to. Yeah, you have a chance, but you're not going to have a good one. And Rex, the guy who plays a major role in the creation of the game, told y'all that this stuff is going to be focal in terms of the game. And, in terms of, like, that was a focal point in regards to that feature, that aspect of the game, and it got nerfed within 3 weeks. You see what I'm saying? Now you got Madden 17, where you've had the running game get nerfed, the fear, and that's the thing. The fear of the game the fear of these aspects and elements that these guys build upon get eliminated. NY said it last week. What about wide receivers going up for the catch on the aggressive catches and taking those big hits? I have yet to receive an injury that way. That hasn't happened yet. It's as if that was taken out of the game altogether. Strip sacks, that was nerfed. Now we know that there was a bug and everything, and we understand that the game has bugs and not fixing bugs. Okay, there's nothing wrong with fixing bugs and stuff like that. But when it comes down to the integrity of the sport, are you using all the controls necessary? And that's the thing. I asked the question back when it initially took the nerf, and when people were talking about the quarterback, they're fumbling too much when they're throwing, when they get hit with the quarterback throwing the ball, they're fumbling too many times. They talk about how they're getting stripped too many times. I asked the question, well, how many of you guys are surrendering for the sack? How many of you guys are getting the ball out quicker than normal? How many of you guys are using the cover ball mechanic when running? A few people respond, and the funny thing was that those people are guys that play head to head, and they're like, yeah, I don't have a problem. I'm getting the ball out quick. I'm being mindful of my play calling. I'm using those mechanics. I'm like, that's the whole point. If you're not using, why put in these mechanics if you're not going to use them and you want to play the game the same way, but then when the success rate ain't there, you want to screen pass and you want the game to be turned down. That's why you need simulation mode. That way, make the passing game a lot more unforgiving. Now, don't have the passes tethered to the route. Let it be loose. Like, let the pass control be loose like how it is in Tiger Woods 14. Doesn't matter if you got Tiger Woods and you use him, or Bubba Watson, or whomever it is, or Rory McIlroy, whomever it is you want to use, Arnold Palmer, you can use throwback version of him. If you swing with the mechanic and you're playing on that simulation difficulty and you're shanking it left and right, oh man, on Pebble Beach, his average green in regulation for this course is da 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 da. Doesn't matter. What are you doing though as the user? See what I'm saying? Instead of don't run to the devs and say, oh, the averages don't add up, so time to turn it down because we're going to complain. No. You, the user, have to learn how to use the control the right way. That means go to practice. That don't mean bust open the package, jump online head to head, and then start whining and complaining because it's not working the way you want. That's why you need to have that kind of mode in the game. Have a mode where if people want all that forgiveness, play over there. But if I want to play a game that's unforgiving, meaning if I'm playing Madden in the traditional way where I could throw the ball and get I could throw perfect spirals as I get hit, well, I want that to be taken away. Level, let me get blasted and fumble. If I fumble 8 times, so the heck what? Then I fumble 8 times. You know what I'm saying? So it's not, it is what it is in that regard, but give me pass controls that are unforgiving. Make the player tangibility a lot more looser. So the player movement and tangibility, let that be tighter in terms of how their tangibility is on the field. Make it a lot more looser in terms of how the players interact with each other. Like how you can do in NHL. You have the settings that you can augment accordingly. And you can actually make players' size and speed and their momentum matter a heck of a lot more than their skills. Than their attributes, I should say, their skill attributes. That a balance you can actually have in Madden, but you can't even have anything like that. Heck, I'd be cool with the backbreaker view even in the game and have it where if you're going to player lock on your linebacker, because it seems like the linebacker can basically play everybody. That's what I'm saying. Make the player movement a lot tighter. Number one, but that needs to happen in general. Make that a lot tighter, but then restrict your view so that way you're locked on that position, and now pull your player out of zone. Unrealistically try and do all this extra coverage. You're not going to have that view to fall back on and see everything that goes on. You're only going to have your a particular vision cone, and that's it. You're confined to that. I'd rather have that and make it more of a challenge, so in that way you have to pay more attention to your personnel, pay more attention to the play calls that you do as well. About that to not as full of an extent right now in Madden. We need to have that stuff expanded. The main point that I'm getting at is that we need broader control over these elements that are in the game. And of course, the game has to be a lot more refined and more authentic in these articulate elements like weight, momentum, size, positioning, etc. So it needs to be built out according to that. But I don't want that to be watered down because you have a particular crowd that complains and then we all got to go for that same ride. Not trying to get down with that. So, but I'll throw it to you, Sim.
Yeah, man. Perfect.
Add on.
Perfect timing because I know Majesty wanted to come in real quick. I see he's on now. He said he just wanted to come in and give his perspective, and then he has to run. But before he does that, I'm just going to say this real quick. It's funny because listening to what Smitty is saying, as well as seeing what some of you guys are saying in the chat, including Majesty as well. And I'm sure, I'll have a little more after he's done. But to me, this proves exactly why there needs to be options. But without further ado, Majesty, come on, man. Definitely, I always want to hear your perspective because I'll say this about your perspective, is not too far away. Like some people in let's say the tourney world are totally like left field. Yours is kind of more like you have your opinion on it and you explain why. So I always appreciate that. So go ahead, man. Take it away.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Well, okay. I will say one thing about my perspective, and it's kind of changed because like our leagues are people come into our leagues, which are sim leagues, and they think like I'm a Nazi because our leagues, like we hold ourselves to a super high level of sim. So, in a lot of ways, I mean, we're very similar in our thought processes. The one thing that's kind of shaped my perspective, and I mentioned this last time I was on, is that, at the start of this year, we had 100 guys in our league chats. So we had 3 leagues running, and it made me see things through a different prism than just what I particularly like. I got a better idea of what the masses like, and these are all guys. We run sim league, so they all think we're all sim guys. But I saw one of the things that I saw early on was we had a game where there were 11 fumbles and there were, I want to say, 3 or 4 scoop and scores, and that's like something that never happens in the NFL, right? And and when Smitty and AZ are like, oh man, it was perfect at launch, I'm like, no, it wasn't, because of stuff like that. And, that's really where I dig my heels in. And I kind of take the opposite. And I'm like, you guys are like, well, they changed it. If you change anything from where it started, then it was nerfed. And I'm like, I hate that, because getting that perspective of all these other guys, what I think we have to understand for guys like us that are like these hardcore sim guys and that want it as realistic as possible and want it, frankly, as difficult as possible, is that we're kind of in the upper echelon. We're kind of like in the top 10% maybe of Madden players. We're guys that have been playing Madden for 20, 25 years. And, I kind of talked about this with Clint on Twitter the other day. Like, the top 10%, sim guys and the top 10% lobby guys, we can't necessarily have the game the way we want, because we lose that 80% in the middle. And, Madden's kind of stagnated in their growth because of that. They're trying to cater to the hardcore lobby guys. They're trying to cater to the hardcore sim guys like us. And we're all fighting for what we want, and we forget about the people in the middle, which is, that's the kind of the important. Those are the guys that kind of make or break the sales. Those are the guys that are going to turn into, the hardcore users down the road. You got to think about the 10-year-old kid, 12-year-old, 14-year-old kid that's picking up Madden for the first time. Yeah, we can say, well, learn to, not throw in the coverage, learn to get rid of the ball quicker and stuff like that. But man, I've been playing this game for 25 years, and when I'm getting sacked on a three-step drop, trying to get off a slant, that's not realistic to me. You know what I mean? And so it's stuff like that where I think we have to kind of gain some perspective in how much we want and how deep this game can really get. And I think to some degree we have to kind of let go of like the super hardcore and have to realize, if they're going to err on the side of caution, it's always going to be on the lower end. They're not going to say, hey, fumbles are 1 per game higher than what they are in the NFL. That's perfect. Let's let it go. They're always going to say, if we're going to be too far on one end, we're always going to be a little bit lower. If we're going to be higher or low on sacks, we're always going to be a little bit lower. And so, that's my biggest thing is when, we get into these Twitter battles where we're talking about, nerf it and this and that. It's just, I think, for us as a sim community, I think we have to, we can fight for the things that we want and to make the games more realistic, but I don't think we can lose track of the average sim guy. The guy that's out there on game day that's losing. I mean, I've seen good players that have been with our league for 3 years, since Madden 15. Good players that make the playoffs every year that were fumbling the ball 4, 5, 6, 7 times a game. And, and yeah, I wasn't having as much problem with it and I could deal with it, but it was still frustrating. And it's frustrating when you got a league full of guys like that. And so, that's my biggest thing is just finding some common ground and not, and not just saying, and I know you guys don't really look at it and just say, oh, well, look, this is what they posted on Twitter. They nerfed it. There's more that goes into that. And, if they've got a statistic that says, sacks are 1 per game on average higher than what the NFL average is, yeah, we can talk about those players need to get a little bit better. And there's definitely some truth to that. We also have to kind of realize that that's not necessarily a feasible goal that we're going after. And that middle 80% is probably not going to put in the time to figure out some of those things. So I don't think we're ever going to get the true simulation that we want. So, what I want to see is things like fumble stats being similar. The strip thing has been a big thing that we talked about. And I don't know how exactly it worked. It went from one of those things that you could be running up behind somebody and hit strip and it was almost a fumble 100% of the time, to now the strip button basically doesn't work. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to necessarily go on a limb and say, hey, that's a nerf, because I don't know how the programming works. Maybe they tried to tune it down, but maybe the way the mechanics there is that they can't get it in the middle ground. Maybe it's an all or nothing feature the way that it's programmed right now. You know what I mean? So as long as the fumbles overall are okay, which I think they are, maybe they're a little low, but I'm okay with that. Some of those things we got to kind of live with. And I just don't think if we take the hard line of this is nerfed and they're ruining the game if they patched it, and man, it was great and all these people complain and they did this, I don't think that helps us as a movement, because I don't think that makes us any different than the lobby guys that are crying because Antonio Brown drops a pass. That's going to happen. I mean, and we can't tell them that they're wrong if we're going to say, well, you're wrong for wanting to fix the game because Antonio Brown dropped the pass, but I'm mad that I'm not getting sacks in 1.5 seconds, which isn't realistic either. So that's kind of my perspective on it. I kind of like to hear Smitty's rebuttal, because we've been kind of going back, and if I got anything to add, and then I'll hop off and see. But what's your kind of take on that?
I mean, basically, change is happening to a game that people have been playing it. Like you said, people have been playing the game the exact same way for 20 plus years. I've been playing the game since the very beginning one edition above the very beginning. I was playing it from Genesis. And the thing is, I welcome the change because I know that I'm going to get sacked a good number of times. I know that I'm going to throw picks. I know that those things are going to happen. I want that stuff to happen. I don't care if somebody been playing Madden and they're this seasoned grizzled vet and all that stuff, and they've been playing for X amount of years. That doesn't mean anything. It's change. People in general don't like change. They scream for it, but then when it actually comes and it doesn't work to their favor, oh man, this is a problem. No, at some point you got to adapt. And the problem is that people don't want to adapt. That's been shown over the past few years. Like, we play this game early, and we see like, yo, this is what's up. But the experience of the NFL is supposed to be tough. Backbreaker did it, for crying out loud, and people screamed nerf there, and that got nerfed because people were getting sacked 8-9 times because it was an experience nobody ever had before. And they put you front and center in the QB spot. And you had that heat coming in there less than 3 seconds, blowing you up if you didn't get that ball out of there. And people were trying to play this game like Madden. See what I'm saying? Like Madden and 2K and all that, because we've been used to having 4 seconds, sometimes 5, to throw a pass. These dudes, they wouldn't even be coming with a blitz, and you had 3 seconds and sometimes less than that to get the pass out. That's the NFL. And even according to Sports Science, and they had Big Ben on there, and he said like average time in the pocket is like 2.7 seconds or something like that. Like, it's under 3. So if it's being replicated there, but then people scream patch and nerf because they can't do what they are accustomed to, what they've been conditioned to comprehend and absorb, of course they're going to say it's a problem. Getting sack fumbled left and right. Well, yeah, you're used to being able to hold on to the ball to the very last second and throw it with legitimate accuracy a good amount of the time while getting blasted. That was drastically reduced, and I was like, yes, I love that. But that stuff gets toned down. And when it's getting toned down, or AKA nerfed, that's a problem. That's a serious problem. Because see, when we see it happen on Sunday, we cheer about it. But then when it happens in our game, we cry about it. No, it can't be that. You can't say you want authenticity and then you're mad when authenticity is happening and it's not in your favor. I'm not concerned about what you did in the past. That's the past. This is now. We want Madden to be a certain way. And the funny thing is, yeah, we're the minority, but yet they're making the game according to what we are saying. That you don't see no casual gamer talking about, hey, they need double team pass blocking. They need the zone play. Matter of fact, they need to have gunners that play this way and that way. They need to have gap integrity in the game. You know what? Like, they're not doing that. That's us. So when it's being put in the game, that's why you need to separate. And you need to have the simulation mode in there. You need to have a separate difficulty where the game is unhinged. So when dudes don't want to get blasted and fumble, fine. You got an avenue. Step down to all Madden and all them other levels and play down there. But if I want to play an unforgiving game of football where it's on me and it's heavily going to be on me, I want that game. You see what I'm saying? So
why can't you do that with sliders?
Because you can't do it all with sliders. When the game gets nerfed, it doesn't matter.
Nah.
I've turned sliders left and right, and it's still
yeah.
Yeah. I put the pass blocking down to 0, and dudes is stonewalling on blocks, and it's because of the patching. That's why take the tuner option from NHL. And let me put it back to when the game first launched. Yeah, and the sliders and all that.
Look at Versus' most recent, I think it's his most recent video where he has that little guy playing on the D line. I mean, on the offensive line.
Exactly.
It's programming.
Yep.
Well, so okay, my thought on that. Hey, I mean, when you guys keep saying going back to patch, or going back to launch, like I personally did not like the game at launch, and the reason being is you talk about the average time being under 3 seconds. The average time to throw, as Clint pointed out today, was 2.6. That's the throw. The average time to sack, the lowest, and I heard this in the Vikings game the other day, and I looked it up on PFF. The lowest in the league was 2.74, and that was Sam Bradford. Lowest. The highest was 4 seconds. The best offensive lines in the NFL give their quarterback, on average, 4 seconds until a sack. So the median is somewhere in between, about 3.3 seconds, right? So the average is over 3 seconds to sack. Prior to the patch, and I don't know, I don't think they have any kind of metrics where they can gauge time to sack. It would be great if they could, because that would be a lot easier for them to tune it that way. But I felt, like I said, on a 3-step drop, you're getting hit and you can't even get a 3-step drop off on a slant. Like that was ridiculous to me. I thought those were the insta sheds. It was really hard to get a deep pass off. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like the guy, like I want to play the game the way, it's meant to be played, like a realistic game. The fumbles, I talked about, they were too high. I don't know. I guess I don't know if a sim mode, I don't know how, I guess it depends on how long, and how much development time it takes for them to put in there. But my concern with it is that we're still going to have this problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys, if you want the game like super difficult, then to me that means make all Madden more difficult, make all pro, kind of, a little bit more of a buffer in pro and on down. But if we get a sim mode, but guys in the sim community, like, we're as hardcore as you go, and you guys are like, well, I just want it tough. I want it, I want less than 2 seconds to pass, and if I don't play perfectly, I'm gonna fumble. Like, we're still gonna be having these same issues, because it's still gonna fragment the community, and we're gonna have some guys that are like, oh, it's too hard, and some guys that, well, it's too easy, and we're still gonna have that. So that's why I think for us to work toward like a more common ground, we have to kind of put a little buffer on that and say, this expectation of the perfect football game is probably never going to happen. So we can keep moving in that direction, but we know they're always, if that they're listening to you guys, and hopefully I'm part of that now, from, they're moving towards what we want, but once it gets released to the masses, they're always going to adjust that. And so I guess tempering that expectation, like I said, I see it more from 3 different leagues. I see a lot of these sim guys. It's hard, man. It's a barrier to entry. The more difficult you make it, and the more things you give somebody to think about. Well, I got to hold R1, and I got to cover the ball, and I got to do L2 and R2 and circle, or whatever it was, to drop my quarterback on the ground so he doesn't fumble. And I gotta try to get I can't ever throw a deep pass, and I always got to get a slant off, and this and that. Like, you're making that barrier to entry extremely high, for the average user. And even guys that are already playing the game, they're going to get frustrated with it. I mean, I was worried we were going to lose a lot of guys because of that before the patch, and we did lose a lot of guys. I mean, we're down to 40-something guys. So I don't know. That's my take on it. I think we're all in agreement in that we want the game to play more realistic, and we want more realistic aspects. I don't want 4 seconds to throw the ball. I want 3.3, on average. If I have a bad line, I want it to be 2.75. If I have a good line, I want it to be 4. I mean, I want that. I want my fumbles, for my league to average out to what the average is. And, worst players are going to fumble more, better players are going to fumble less. That's what I want. I think we kind of, in the idea, we all kind of want to work in the same direction. Sometimes I think that, you kind of take the hard end, and you're like, man, I want it to be super difficult. And I didn't want it to be quite as difficult as it was, because I didn't think it was realistic. And I think just as an overall, looking at, I mean, it doesn't do us any good if we're the only 3 people playing Madden, right? The more people we have playing Madden, the better off our experience is. More people we get to play, the more guys we get into sim and stuff like that. So I think if we try too hard and focus too hard on making it too difficult, then I think we lose a lot of that.
But it's a component that it seems that is being missed here. Like, to me, first of all, the game is never going to be completely sim in all regards because there's still too many restrictions and the interactions and the weight and stuff not mattering and suction and two-man sequences. So you got to consider that. But outside of that, the point is that there should be options for everybody, because for as many people that feel like it's too hard, there's other people who want that. That's what the whole conversation is. It's not about if this guy thinks it's too hard, he thinks it's too easy, this guy thinks it's options. NHL has it. I mean, if you look at a current product, if you don't even talk about Tiger Woods or any other game, NHL, I just showed the video. It has specific areas that you can tune. And then on top of that, it has a plethora of adjustments that you can make to the actual settings. So therefore, you can cater the way the game is to your liking. Like me personally, I don't worry about this guy, the Johnny Football, Walmart, whatever you want to call him. I don't worry about what he wants to play. That's not my concern. I want to have a game where I can customize it to my liking, since I know Madden has to appeal to the masses. I get that. But here's my problem and here's my beef with the whole argument. If EA didn't tell us that, EA, them, if they didn't say that they were going for simulation, you wouldn't hear a peep out of me. I would take it for what it is. But they're the ones that keep saying it. This is a simulation. We're going for authenticity. We're going for this. We're going for that. You're pumping that. You're campaigning that. And then you turn around and whether the word is nerf or whatever you want to call it, you make adjustments. I mean, when you say stuff in a patch like adjusted the amount of organic knockouts, how do you do that? It goes back to that dial. That they got to stop doing that. That's all I'm saying. Or like Smitty says, and then I'll throw it back to Smitty, give us the ability to go back to the preferred setting that we like. That would solve everything. If you have patch 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we all could choose, I like 2. And you feel like I didn't like the game at launch, I'm gonna go with 4. That solves everything right there. So that's all I'm proposing is give me the ability to play on the setting that I prefer as far as your adjustments at EA, and then second, give me all of the options like NHL has. And then after that, we just have to wait to see what kind of game they can produce as far as under the hood. That's stuff that's out of our control. But that's all. That's what I'm saying.
So my question on that would be, how much time development? Because that's one of the things we talked about a lot. How hard is it to program a sim mode? I mean, I know NHL's got it, and I see Millennium talking about how great it is. And honestly, if we could get, I'm not opposed to the sim mode. I mean, I think it's great. My concern is, as we've seen for other things, how much development time does this all take, and what does it take away from other things that we could add? Because me personally, one thing I really want to see is I want to see a slider set that works and that's far more robust than what we have now. Because I think that solves a lot of it. For guys like us that mostly play franchise mode, I think if we have more sliders that work, and we're able to tweak everything. We've got CPU run blocking and tackling and fumbling and all this stuff, and we're able to customize all that stuff, and it actually works and we can tweak it, then I think that solves a lot of problems. The second thing is, when you guys point to the like, okay, well, they put this on a piece of paper and it says, well, we've tuned this. We don't know how much they tuned it, right? Like, what if they only tuned it 1%? You know what I'm saying? Like, if they have data that says that fumbles are too high, and that fumbles are twice as high as the NFL average, and they tune it 10% to try to take those fumbles down, that's the equivalent of bringing your fumble slider and your franchise down to like 45. Like, why is that a huge issue? You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess that's where I get stuck, is when you guys are like, well, they put on this thing that they tuned this. Well, but what if the data says that it's wrong? Why is that bad if they just tuned it and we don't even know how much they tuned it? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that, and again, I always think they're going to go a little bit too far on one side, but when they tune these things, I think Madden, I told you guys this on Twitter, I reset our leagues to all pro, and then I I reset the sliders to default, and guys are having more fun playing the game right now than they have in the 3 years we've been playing the game. Now, sacks might be a little low overall, fumbles are a little bit low overall, but
Of course,
we're
they're
all
having.
but
All right, no, go
I
ahead.
mean, they're
Go
sim
ahead.
guys though. They're sim guys though.
Go
These
ahead.
aren't
No,
guys.
But yeah, no, go ahead.
I'm just saying. So this is like that's just why I'm saying, like, I don't know if we can go 100% true, like perfect NFL, but I mean, at least get there. I just don't think at patch. I don't know what the percentage was time to sack. I thought about doing a game once and calculating all my hits and timing it and trying to figure it out. That's a painful process, but it felt too fast. Those fumbles were excessive to me, especially the scoop and scores. Now, that could have been something different. If they work on the fumbles where they dive on the fumbles more and they're not all scoop and scores, and you don't have 4 scoop and scores in a game, then it would feel a little bit more realistic and maybe it wouldn't have been as bad. I think the scoop and score really hurt it. But I don't know. I don't, when I look at the game and I see them put out a tuner, I don't look at the words on the tuner and be like, oh man, they nerfed that. Sometimes it scares me. There's been stuff I put out and I'm like, oh man, no, they touched that. But then I play it and I'm like, all right, let me play 5 or 10 games and let's see how it is. And so, I mean, I'm probably not adding anything new at this point, but that's basically my thing is, I get what you're saying. We're trying to move in that direction, but we're always going to have that segment of that middle 80% who is the 80% that may or may not buy the game next year, and they're always going to get listened to. And they have to, because that's just smart business. So while we can always fight for these things, we can get them, put them in, and we can always, give a, hey, thumbs up, look at what we've helped to get added, the formation subs and, the new zones and all that stuff. That's awesome. But we always have to keep in mind that middle 80% is always going to be there. And, how do we find something that fits? Now, maybe simulation mode's easier to do than I think. I'm just really worried that it's going to be this huge undertaking and they're going to put this time into it and it's still not going to be perfect. And we're still going to be complaining. And then that was time that could have been fixed, doing franchise mode or something else. But, that's kind of my take on it. I'll get off and I'll listen to you guys for a little bit. Then I got to go. But, at the end of the day, I think we're still making progress. I think we're doing good. We're moving in the right direction. Maybe it's a little bit more nerfed or, average user than we like. And, as long as we have options, I think that's definitely the solution. It's just, how do we get there? And, I think all of us working together to try to, get it in that right general vicinity. I think it helps us all out. So appreciate you guys having me on. Like I said, I'll listen for a little bit and then I'm sure we'll talk more on Twitter.
No problem, man. We always appreciate guys coming on, and definitely want to throw it to you, Smitty. But I want to say this because you might be feeling the same thing here. This is the thing: simulation, a sim guy. The definition of a sim guy seems to change with every person. And this is what I'm trying to say, and I'm gonna say it short and sweet. It's starting to become what you are willing to tolerate as a sim guy. That's what it is, because you have guys say they're a sim guy, but then they say, "Tag, I only got like 2.5, 3 seconds to throw the ball." That's football, right? Sometimes you do have all day to throw the ball. Sometimes Tom Brady has all day, and then you hear guys say, "Why does the Patriots have so long? They're getting like 5 seconds." Well, if the game was simulation and they have a good offensive line, Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott and Zeke are running all over the place. Why? Because of that offensive line. If it happened in Madden, a lot of people would get mad at that. Man, I can't stop the run. And let's just say it was Dallas's team that's doing it, but not everybody else. How many sim guys would be cool with that? Last example, one of the games I just played in the Sim Standard Radio League, guy runs a fake punt on me, and I'm like, oh, he's wide open. Guy drops it. How many people as sim guys are cool with that? Think about that for a minute. That's the problem. Everybody claims that they're a sim person, but they don't. A lot of people don't accept things that happen in football all the time. And why don't we not accept it in Madden? Because of the dice roll. That's a whole different story. But if at this point, if maybe not a sim mode, I think NHL is probably the best base. If we had the ability to tweak every aspect, like Smitty said, where you can you can determine how much force is on the puck or how much the body is, how much I guess you said the body and mass is accounted for in the physics. If you could do that in Madden, that solves the problem right now, because the way the game is built is how it is. Of course, there's always going to be imperfect stuff. Of course, it'll never replicate football. And this is the last thing, Smitty, before I throw it to you, and I'm going to bring NYK in too after you. This is the last thing. We got to get rid of it. Everybody is stuck in here, in their heads with the analytics. You can't really use analytics, man. Number one, it's a video game versus the real world. So me personally, my argument to Rex and them is, and I always tell these guys that, why do we keep trying to compare metrics? How many fumbles happen? You don't know. You don't know. The Pittsburgh Steelers right now don't have a lot of sacks. But you know what happened against Kansas City? Cam Hayward had three. Cam Hayward. A power defensive end. Who would have saw that coming? You cannot try to, when you try to match stuff, that's when you got to rely on the dial. That's the problem right there. And see, it's so many problems within the problem is why people can't just be happy with what they got. So the solution is, Smitty, is going to have to be giving us the settings and the options to customize it the way we want. Because even sim guys don't agree. That's how it goes, man. But yeah, Smitty, take it away, and I'll shoot NYK. I'm going to shoot you your invite right now.
All right. So basically and just like what my man's Majesty basically did, and I mean, Sim, what you said is spot on. I bet you there are people in Majesty's leagues that would complain about those exact football, true-to-life elements that you just pointed out. You see what I'm saying? Everybody does not agree with, what's happening because it's not fair. That's why people jump on the sticks and play. That's why you see people take teams that unrealistically wouldn't have a shot in the dark to make it to the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden they can win the Super Bowl. See what I'm saying? Because they play the game and make those, they make those adjustments. They do all these things that their team isn't able to perform realistically, and they can live with that. Take that away from people. Now all of a sudden they're gonna be complaining. They're gonna be screaming out, like I said, patch, nerf, all that good stuff. You know what I'm saying? Now, when dudes are fumbling the ball and all that, this is why you need to have. This is why they need to have simulation mode in the game. Once again, what's the point of doing all the? You can do all the work in CFM all you want. Gameplay is still going to matter, and if the gameplay is taking all these hits, I'm sorry, you know what I'm saying. If the gameplay is taking all these hits, then we're right back in the same place. But if you give a option where people can choose what tuner they want to play, what difficulty level they want to play in, this unforgiving difficulty level, where they can get that full-on football experience, win, lose, draw, whatever. Let them have that. Let them choose the tuner options. Matter of fact, NHL, you talked about like what Majesty said about the controls. If you have problems with all the control options, heck, NBA 2K would be a nightmare for you then. You see what I'm saying? Because they give all those controls. FIFA would be a nightmare for you with all those controls they got. NHL would be a nightmare because all those controls they have. MLB The Show would even be a nightmare because of all the controls that they have. See what I'm saying? But at the same time, they have control options where you can play it simple, intermediate, and then full on. NHL, same thing. NHL they still got the NHL 94 controls in the game. So you can have literally like your Super Nintendo Genesis, just 2 buttons you play, 2, 3, 4 buttons you playing with, and that's it. None of the extra analog stick controls using all the bumpers and all that stuff. So it's like there are options, and that's just control. We ain't even talking about how the game feels with the tuner options you can select, and gameplay aspects, and even player physicality aspects that you can control. You can set the slider adjustment for that. Nothing like that is in Madden right now. That's why I'm saying Madden needs to go to that. They need to go to that model. They need to their game, needs to be built to that method that we have, that you see in FIFA. FIFA has some two-man interactions, but it's very loose. So you have control. Madden needs to have that kind of control. If people, and that's what I said, people want to create their own fish bowls, cool. Make your own fish bowl. Go over there. Do your own thing. You don't want to mess with those mechanics, and I tell you what, when Majesty has his game and he's playing against somebody else, you choose the classic controls where you just got simple buttons, while your opponent, they want the max control. Let them have it. And then y'all have at it. See what I'm saying? Whereas somebody else wants to play on another difficulty level in the same game, regardless of a tuner. So if somebody wants to tune it and mess with stuff or whatever, I could go in my sim league, and that's the thing. I'm commissioner of my league. I could go into my league, and I could choose which tuner I want whenever I feel like. That's the kind of stuff you need. You need that option. I'll take that any day over just having, I'd rather than work on other elements of the game, or better yet, work on them both at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Do it at the same time. Why just do one over the other? That would make perfect sense to do it that way. And then you know what? At NHL, it took them time to build those sliders out the way they did. Madden do the same thing. As we've always said on this show, Madden is the title playing from behind. I'm not going to expect them, if they were to do a simulation difficulty, I'm not going to sit up here and expect them to just automatically be right there. It's going to take them some time to get it there, just like NHL did, just like PES and FIFA and the show and NBA 2K. It took them all time. So let them do the work they need to do, build that out, give us those options, and let everybody play in their own fishbowl, regardless of what league, how tenured they are in it, what type of player they are. Doesn't matter about Johnny Casual or whatever name you want to give them. They'll be able to play in their own little fishbowl, whether it's rookie. But if they want to step up to the big leagues, they're going to have to play big league ball. Otherwise, they're going to have to fall off and just say, well, I want that stuff nerfed, tuned, patched, whatever. Do the tuning. I'm going to dial it back. Let them dial it up and have their fun playing on whatever slider it is they want to, whatever setting they want to play on, and call it a day. So I'll leave it at that, though. I'll throw it back to you, Sim.
Yeah, I just saw a good point, man, that Millennium OS, so shout outs to him, man. I appreciate you tweeting and just giving your feedback on tonight's conversation. And this is exactly how we want the show really to be. I keep extending that invitation to everybody, man. If you want to come on, just let us know. Even if you want an actual show where maybe we have 2 guests or so, and that's the whole show. We would love that. But he just posted that Mike Wayne actually posted his sim sliders for 2K. And I think that's phenomenal as well. And Madden, just to speak on this point a little bit, people always ask, I know a guy asked me on Twitter just tonight, why they don't really answer questions in regards to sliders. The truth is, man, here's the God honest truth, and I don't really think this is violating anything. A lot of the stuff that's in Madden has been there since before some of these guys were working or, actually designers for the game. So there's few people who actually know specifically how the sliders work. I've spoken to these guys. One of the engineers basically advised me that the slider, the way Madden works, the slider is really just an increase or decrease of the dice roll effect. Prime example, you turn catching up to 100, they're going to catch the ball probably 100% of the time. Most of the time, they could still drop it because ratings will still factor in. But where it gets hairy is if you have a guy like, who catches the ball? I'm not even going to be a homer and say AB. Or Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald can catch, even in real life. That dude don't drop much. So if you have a guy with a high rating like that and your slider's at 100%, he probably going to catch that ball 9 out of 10 times. Now, some people will say great, but then the same thing might be said for a guy that can't catch like that. He's catching way too many times. And I haven't done my 100% test this year. I've done that in the past where I turn everything up to 100 except for like fumbles and stuff like that. But I'll turn, pass, coverage and catching and all of that just to see how the game plays. And I might do that again if I get a chance. And I usually do that on All Pro because All Madden, forget about it. But that's all the sliders do. The sliders are not granular like how they are in NHL. So that's one issue, and that could be the answer to all of this. The game, y'all hear my co-host here. Oh my Lord, he put his shoes on, y'all, in his pajamas like he's going somewhere. But anyway, the game just might not be built in that manner yet to where it's broken down like NHL to allow that. So that's another thing to consider. Like Smitty said, Majesty even said it as well. Could very well just be that the game is just not equipped at this point, and I get that. So that's why we keep this is in hint. This is the reason why y'all keep hearing us push for this agenda. Because what we're really doing when we're saying sim mode and all that, see, this is how me and Smitty and AZ work. Y'all don't really know this. This is a little secret. This is our way of getting them to do that. Getting them to start producing the game in that manner. We know it ain't quite there yet, but you have to keep the conversation going, and then they can be like, okay, this might be something we need to do. Not tooting the horn, but I think we got a pretty good track record. If you look back 4 years to now, it's stuff that we say y'all need to do, and it's started to happen. So that's why the time, I don't know. I'm not a developer. I'm not an engineer. I don't know how long it takes to do these things, but what I'm saying is I don't think any of this stuff is impossible. It can be done. Just like Clint said, it's not fully there, but weight and momentum is a part of the formula, a little part of the formula in the trenches. Now, how could they add that in? You see what I'm saying? Maybe the next time it'll be more and more and more. So again, I don't know the time frames. I'm just saying you have to push the agenda. I don't get hung up on how long is it going. I don't get hung up in all that because people have asked us that before. How long are y'all gonna? I'm gonna push for however long I feel like doing this. It don't hurt. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't hurt anything. It's not taking food out of my mouth. It's not taking money out of my pocket. It's not taking, I'm going to keep doing this until I feel like, you know what? I'm going to retire from this whole thing. Like if they do it, they do it. If they don't, they don't. I'm not one of those guys. I think Smitty shares this. I don't get hung up on when Madden 18 comes out and they still ain't. All I could do is push the feedback. If they could get to it, great. If they don't, guess what? I still got a life to live. I'll just play the game that I have. It's not the end of the world. And some people take this thing so seriously, especially the people who don't like Madden. Like they really, it's like it's a personal vendetta. Oh, the game. So why are you so concerned? And I don't want to go down that road, but that's just it. All we could do is push these ideas. Like I said, we have a pretty good track record of ideas that we've pushed that has actually happened. So me and Smitty and Azure get kind of like, oh, that worked. Let's try this now. That's all we're saying. And ironically, I'll throw this out there. I've heard people say that Rex has kind of alluded to, maybe we need to separate competitive and sim. We've heard that inside. Me and Smitty both have heard that before. But now other people are hearing that. So that kind of sounds like the fuel, the fire is being lit a little bit. So this is why we do this, man. But again, I don't think, Smitty, that it can't, I don't think it can be this is me personally. I know this is an opinion, but I'm going to state this as if it's a fact. I don't think any of us should be able to disagree at the fact that options should be there. This whole conversation tonight between us and Majesty is the exact reason why the options should be there. There's no refuting that. Then I don't have to worry about little Jimmy that's trying to learn how to play football. I don't have to worry about him because if he wanted to, he could play on a setting that he likes or customize it or whatever. I can make the game as crazy and as nutty as I want it. Then everybody's happy. Options are always the solution. Period. That's just my opinion. But hey, we're waiting for NY Kia to come in, man. Hopefully he got his invite. Zulu, I think Zulu wants to come in as well. So I'm going to go grab your email also and get you back in. Real quick, Smitty, while we wait for Kia, what does it look like? And you know, you can be brief with it, but what does sim mode in Madden look like currently? Like, let's say if we were to use what's in the game now and they didn't. No, actually, no. Let's talk future. If we wanted them to build out the ability, because my thing would be copy what NHL did in NHL 17. That to me right there, it's almost like, I know you're gonna remember this, when me and you went down there for Madden 13 and Vic Lugo showed us how to fool with the physics, and we were turning it up like we was having it to where dudes was getting knocked out. That sounds like the solution. But what do you think, man? What looks like the actual plan that we could get to without it taking too much time, or something that's realistic that will allow us to customize the experience?
Man, honestly, like, and you're saying off of current Madden, right? Off of the way it is right now, or you're just saying
actually,
future?
No, we can say future, because it's gonna have to be some type of implementation.
I mean, number one, you need to have true step on all 22 players. That's number one. Number two, pass untether the passing. Because when you have and then like we've already said, the settings from NHL settings, and those slider settings, and the like the tuner adjusting, having that setting as well. Those are going to be key in regards to that. Like, to me. Because that makes the gameplay a lot more unforgiving and a lot more organically dynamic, and you'll truly see the differences between your skilled players, and not just guys that got speed and that's it. Because even when you play FIFA, you see speed. You see guys that have speed, but you see guys that are not as fast, how they try to position themselves in order to defend the ball accordingly, or to stop that player accordingly, despite that speed advantage they have. And they actually utilize their size into their, they use their size over their speed or whatever to combat against somebody who has that speed advantage despite skill. We need that kind of stuff in Madden. Like, we need people to use a lot more intangibles. And you really don't see that in the game right now. Like, you don't see the intangible factor really weigh in that much in the game. Like height, size. I would love to see length actually be depicted. The guys aren't, wingspans. You have them in the combine. We need to see that in Madden. You know what I'm saying? Show that arm span, that wingspan, and see these guys use those reaches on defense to tip balls and reach out and grab players. Up jersey pulls. Must. Okay. We said that a million times on here.
Must.
That's a must. So, really, if I was to be real short and sweet, open up the passing like NFL Fever. Doesn't have to be the exact controls, but open where you can place it across the board, wide open it. Player movement like FIFA, or the trenches will be retarded. It'll be so organically dynamic. It'd be crazy how that would play out. Slider settings and tuner adjustment options like in NHL, and your core AI outside of the AU, because you got the AI settings you can do yourself, but the core AI settings by default, just the core AI revamped in the game, and that would be nuts. Just like from a skid to surface standpoint, but that would be nuts to see that happening in Madden. So I'll throw it back to you, man.
That's pretty much it. And it's funny, man. The last video I did earlier today, the little film study videos that I do, I said exactly that. Like, they have to find a way to, first, the interactions. The interactions are an integral part of the game. They have to get it to where they are, first of all, one-to-one. There's no, none of that warping and shifting into place, because even in the example that I showed, great play for the most part. You saw in one instance there was no shift, where in years past we would have seen that shift tackle, right? So in one instance we had it like that. And then right at the end, as I'm trying to score, and I don't know if he would have scored or not, because the guy took a great pursuit angle. But then you see the little shift into place and they play out this tackle. That stuff has to go completely. And I think right now it has to be animation trigger. Because like I said, I don't know if everybody saw it, but if you check out the video, you'll clearly see that there was a component earlier as I get past the screen, the screenplay blocking, where a guy was right there and they didn't suck him in to make the tackle. I was able to get down the field. But I guess later on in the play, now there's a two-man sequence that can play out and they draw him into the tackle. You got to get rid of that stuff. Player movement has to be paramount, like you said. I think that's the key success in FIFA from what I've played. Now, true, I'm not a soccer fan. I don't know the rules and all of that, but I'm looking at my eye test of what I see, how the players are moving and interacting. Madden doesn't quite have it like that yet. And then the last but not least, AI. Get the AI to be individual and let it play out. Just like I said again in that video, but I always talk about screen blocking. I hate the way it's done in Madden. It's horrendous. They wait until the guy catches it and then they all go. It don't work like that. In real football, them guys are looking already to say, who am I going to block? And sometimes they go early, and that's the reason why you get ineligible man downfield or offensive pass interference, because it's a timing thing. And like I said, when I played ball, we had a hot word. When I caught the ball, I said a certain thing, and my lineman and whoever's in front of me knew, oh, okay, let's go get somebody. Hat on the hat. Stuff like that. If they had that individual AI, last but not least, and then I see we got Kia on here. I'm going to throw it to Kia right after this. This is my biggest pet peeve in terms of trenches or just interaction, period. Every one of us who have either played football or watched football, what do defensive players do? How do they know how to get to the ball? When they're engaged in the block, what are they doing? They're watching the ball. How do they know how to block shed? They block shed to where they think the ball is or where they think the guy's going to be, especially the interior. Madden still has that issue where the guys are just, they're worrying about each other. The running back is right there, and he's still like this. Then he turns to him. That's what I'm talking about one-to-one interaction and AI. I need the defenders to be looking like head tracking or whatever. I don't know how can they translate it, but they need to be looking for the ball, and that's how they decide where they go. The linebackers do it in the run fits, but as soon as they get connected, it goes haywire because now you got that interaction. So it's a ton of things, man, that they need to fix on the field, and then once they do that, then give us the settings. Then we can adjust it the way we want it. But Kia, man, we're happy to have you, man. So shed some light, man, on anything you want to speak on in terms of this topic.
What's up, gents?
What's up, man?
Yo, what's happening?
Y'all can hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I would like people to go take a look at the last two league games I have posted on my channel. The one in the Sim Standard Radio League, myself against the Texans, and one where I played against the Jets. And those two games will sum up the problem with the game right now. In my game against the Jets, I'm inside the 10-yard line, and I got Brandon Marshall on the outside all alone against Stephon Gilmore. Brandon Marshall, 6 foot forever, can jump out the building. One of the best aggressive catch receivers in this game. And in real life, he's a kind of guy who's better with the ball in traffic than he is when he's wide open. I get the one-on-one coverage, throw a high point lob pass, and Brandon Marshall he allows himself to get boxed out by little 5'10" Gilmore. And Gilmore jumps higher than him for the ball. In my Sim Standard Radio League game, I got the Jags, Allen Hurns, and Robinson, 90-plus route running, 90-plus spec catch. My opponent has DeAndre Hopkins, one of the best receivers in the entire game. Yeah, I spotlit him every play, but I had no problem or worry about leaving rookie Jalen Ramsey all alone to the outside. I played cover 3, cover 4 all game for the most part. I'm like, okay, maybe he catches it, maybe he won't. I don't really care. My opponent outmatched with both of my outside guys, whatever. He might catch it. Chances are he won't. There's no fear anymore with this game. J.J. Watt, maybe he'll play today. Maybe he won't. If he does, okay, I'll slap protect, maybe leave my back in here and there. But we're back to that boom or bust factor with the game. Maybe your guys will play. Maybe they won't. At launch, when I was hopping online, testing things out with the Jets, you could go 5 wide if you want. Your quarterback won't be upright for very long. Either Sheldon Rich, Muhammad Wilkerson, Leonard Williams was going to be in your face, and you'll be looking at 2nd and 20, 3rd and 30. First couple weeks of the game, guys were running the ball on 3rd and long. True story. They were running the ball and punting. Now, it's empty backfield. It's shotgun bunch. Everyone out in the pattern. Mm-hmm. I'm playing much salary cap. I got Herman Moore out there against little itty bitty corner, who he, has every rating attribute in his favor. They don't care. Go ahead, throw the spec catch. You're not going to catch it. There's no fear when it comes to matchups anymore, and that's a problem. I've been saying this over and over again. The biggest problem with the game is the community itself. Guys don't want to be made to look like they're not as good as they think that they are. They want to be able to show off on their little Twitch streams and sell their little ebooks and act like they're God's gift to the game. Now, I shouldn't, paint with that word of a brush. A lot of the tournament guys are cool guys. A lot of the sim guys are cool guys, but there's a lot of nonsense out there that feeds this monkey see, monkey do attitude and this sense of entitlement that everything should be easy. There's no sure thing in sports. There's no sure thing in football. A play's not going to work just because you press X when, defender does this and it just works because you're used to it always working. I'm not really in favor of separate game modes because I see what happens with NBA 2K, where you have park mode, you have pro-am, you have my career, my GM, and you have your regular league mode. Because what I think happens with NBA 2K is that there's so many masters to serve there that I think the core 5-on-5 basketball, NBA style basketball, gets left behind. And I think you can see that in the game with the the videos that Apex does and that he's been doing for the past couple of years. The 5-on-5 basketball NBA 2K is stagnant. It hasn't improved much at all. I don't want to see that happen with this game just because we're trying to serve, all of these different factions within the community. I haven't really played NHL much. I haven't played NHL in a long time, but I like MLB's approach where they say, you're going to play baseball, but we're going to give you every option, layout, interface, slider that's ever been in the game since PS2 to now to work with so you can play it the way you feel comfortable playing it. But it's still going to be the same core baseball experience. You're going to have to adapt to that, but then you can tailor it based off of how you feel comfortable with the control. Get the core AI stabilized, and then give people the tools to customize, the game based off of the game modes that they want to play. I don't like all the guesswork that goes into, the sliders where you affect one thing and then inadvertently affect something else. I would like to have some way of knowing clearly what each of these sliders do and what ratings they impact. How much is play recognition and awareness playing off each other? And how do those two ratings impact, for example, how quickly a linebacker can diagnose a play and then pursue? Or safety being able to diagnose a route combination and then close on it. What's impacting that? Is it his zone coverage rating? Is it his play rec? Is it his awareness? Is it all three? And if so, which ones are have more weight than the other? So we need to have the game and the devs stick to their guns and say, this is the way it's going to be. And we'll give you the tools to customize how you want to play in the realm you want to play in, but you're going to have to learn how to survive with the environment that we give you. Period. And if they leave, they leave. If Stiff leaves, if Problem leaves, I guarantee you there'll be someone who will rise up and take their place. There's too many people in this country who love football. There's too many people in this country who play video games. The void will always be filled. So just give us the game correct and stick to your guns. That's all I got to say.
That's all that needs to be said, man. We thank you for coming on. I don't have nothing to say behind that. We got another caller on, but man, that he speaks the truth. That's NY Kia, guys. He's always done that. It's funny. I have to say this before I bring Zulu on. Back in the day, you know, there was always a debate between us and Kia. And then we started figuring out that, wait a minute, we are more alike than we're not. And NY Kia is the one who was responsible for literally making me play Madden 11 and go back and say, oh, wait a minute, there's some stuff in here. I see what Kia is saying. I still don't like the game because Kia has always been a guy that looked at the game for what it was, studied it fully, and then he tells it like it is, just like he's telling it right now. He actually likes Madden 17, but there's things that totally pisses him off, and he shares the same frustration with us as far as us, you know, telling the devs stop messing with it. I tell that to them all the time. Go with your gut. Go with the feeling you had when you released it and you said this is what we launching with. Do that. Then give us the tools. But everything Kia said, I agree with 100%. Zulu, man, we got you on. What you got for us?
Hey, how y'all doing?
What's going on, man?
Y'all got me so amped and excited tonight. I've listened closely. Last night, I got on Twitter. I saw the discussion. I was like, oh, no, I can't let this week go by. I got to talk about this and give y'all my 100. So, as you know, I always start off by saying this is the best football game, minimally best Madden game I've ever played, the best football game I've ever played, and no one will ever know it. I have to start off by saying, first of all, shout out to the dev team, Rex. I love this game, and I'm frustrated because I love this game, and I can only imagine how good it could be if we just went all the way. I understand also that there's tension between, let's say, marketing and production. I get that. I understand. Here's our problem, and understand. I also agree with what NY Kia just said. Shout out to you. Love your videos. I agree what you said, that now there's no fear, which I'm going to translate as also a lack of respect. I don't respect the other my opponent's defense. I don't respect the pieces on the defensive line. I don't respect aspects of the game, so I'm going to change my behavior. Madden gamers are the ultimate pragmatists. You can see what the problems are with Madden based on how they play. So with all that said, putting that all out there, we need a sim mode, whatever you want to call it, because right now we have people who want to have a challenge. They want to have a gaming challenge without raising the level of difficulty or competence. And what I mean by that is they want to go in and talk about how they're ballers or how good they are. And they want people to acknowledge how good they are. But they want to be able to do so without there being a standard for evaluation. So if you throw a ball into triple coverage and your boy comes down, or your receiver comes down and catches it, I own the fact that I did that. And somehow that makes me a better player than you are, despite the fact you got him in like triple coverage. But if you raise the bar for competence and raise the bar for literacy, you know, I probably shouldn't throw that into triple coverage. Let me scan the field. Let me go through progressions. Oops, got sacked. Like when you raise that challenge for the gamer, for the user, then we can all have an understanding of where we're at. And that's what, no matter where we are on this thing, we want the head-to-head guys or the guys who play their friends list to have a similar experience as the guys who play in franchise mode. Right now, we can't have that. Right now, we have too many people only focused on franchise mode, or we have guys who are only concerned with MUT, or we have guys who are only concerned with their friends or their head-to-head, not realizing that if we just had a standard, everybody else can deviate. Nothing is taken away from you if we deviate. But if we have a standard, we have sim mode. You just accept the fact that, hey, man, my receiver's going to drop the pass. And furthermore, stats matter more because in sim mode, we don't have to tune as much unless there is literally a problem, like a glitch, like, oh, I can see the other person's plays, or I can see that they're running or passing. When you have that opportunity to have a sim mode, the 10-year-old can still play the game. However, it does not penalize the 20-year-old or the 16-year-old or the 30-year-old or the gray beard like me, the 40-year-old. It doesn't penalize us for having a experience with the game, being pretty good or decent, and yet still finding a challenge. With a sim mode, stats will matter more, and every enhancement you offer to the game, like aggressive catch, the new man play that it looks like we might have for 18, certainly for 17 we have zones, everything gets enhanced if you have a thing like pass rush, but we can't do any of that stuff if Rex is afraid or perhaps he's being coerced. We don't know. But if for whatever reason unable to live up to his own vision, he will make claims. I pay attention. He'll make claims, and then there's a tuner, and you realize, oh, things have changed. We'll watch Rex on video, and he'll talk about, these are my ideas, and these are my ideals, and these are our goals. And then you see a tuner, and you realize he had to step back from that. I'm not blaming Rex. He's going to be the dude that brings us a proper game. This game has never been so fun for me, except the glory year of like Madden 04, Madden 05. In between that, man, it's been some tough times. Rex is doing right by us. However, he needs to have a little playpen where he can say, this is the game in its purest form, without any tuner necessary, without any kind of mystery button that suddenly allows for suction tackles. I don't have to worry about that. If I go to sim mode, I know for a fact what kind of game I'm going to play. You have to give users choice, because right now, we got a lot of fools in the Madden universe, and they have faux resentments, not real resentments, but faux resentment. Force them to play sim mode. Say, hey, you can play any mode you want to, but this is the gold bar. This is the standard. You play sim mode, and you already know what you're going to expect.
Hey, man.
Agree.
I don't think I could disagree with that at all, man. We definitely appreciate you coming on, sharing your thoughts. It's always great thoughts, man. Smitty, what you got to say about that, man? I mean, I'm agreeing fully. I mean, it goes back to what we said. It's bottom line, we just need the settings. And like my man Millennium OS is saying, you can separate the modes. Like, even if you don't want to categorize them, I understand that, because we have had that conversation, guys. And we've heard pushback. Well, here's the problem. People want to feel like they're playing on the best level. That's human nature. That's the reason why most people play all Madden and ain't got no business playing on all Madden, even though the game is cheating, so to speak. But that's why people play on Hall of Fame and 2K, which you out your mind if you do that, because I don't like the experience. But that's why I think they're going to kind of shy away from labeling. But you could give the settings. The settings is the key, because then, or like the idea I've thrown out there, why don't you tailor CFM as being a sim situation, a sim experience? Because if you're playing connected franchise, this is replicating the NFL. I threw that idea out there a couple years ago. Rex actually liked it. But it doesn't come down to just Rex. My man Zulu hit on a key point there, and we've been saying this. It's not just the dev. Their hands are only free to a certain degree. You know, they like this, and then at a certain point, they go back to this because big man comes down and like, hey, we're hearing this and this and this and this. And that. I mean, that's, you know, I'm being a little hypothetical there, but that's, y'all know how it works. Everybody has bosses. Matter of fact, and I'll throw it to Smitty right after this. Do y'all remember that interview or the podcast he did with 4 Verts? Did you hear what he said about marketing and things? Did you hear, like, Rex was pouring it out? Like, man, we have to convince these people all the time why this needs to be in the game, why that should be in the game, and make it sound enough to where they feel like it's marketable. See what I'm saying? That man told y'all to his own mouth, look, if it was up to me, but it ain't up to me at the end. But Smitty, what you want to share in regards to Zulu's point?
No, like, I fully agree. I mean, you already know. You know, we've been lobbying for this, you know, simulation difficulty, mode, level, whatever, for the longest amount of time. It, you know, and I know it's something you got to market or what have you, but why don't they market it like how Tiger Woods marketed the mode? You know what I'm saying? The funny thing, see, this is the funny thing about it. All Madden is not this. All Madden, while it is a challenge, it's not like this creme de la creme level where it's like, if you play on All Madden, OMG, you're this beast all of a sudden. Like, it's not like that. Everybody is able to play on All Madden. It's the same effect like what Tiger Woods had. People would get the game, they would tout some new feature, play on a difficulty, new control, whatever. People are playing on the highest difficulty, shooting like 30 under par after day 1 of the tournament and stuff like that. And it's like, so something has to be done to add that challenge back into the game, you know, to add a new layer into the fold. That's what simulation difficulty was. Now, of course, you could go in and tweak whatever setting you want, like I did in the video. I've shown you. You can go in and tweak and modify it, and it'll just be custom. But you need to have those options, those separation options available in the game. You can't keep having this exact, you know, same difficulty level just because from a marketing standpoint, people want to feel a certain way. Well, then you still need that segmentation. You got to have that in the game. You know what I'm saying? Because look, if you're going to redefine all Madden and then go into the, like, let's just say, okay, Unmadden unlocks the sim setting, so to speak, right? Then you go in there and now you got dudes playing like how you seen that touchdown pass by Mike Evans, that catch he had. The funny thing about that, if you guys look at that catch, you saw how that just goes right in line, ironically, with what NY Kia said. You saw how player size doesn't mean anything. Brandon Marshall, size doesn't matter because the sequence is going to dictate how things go. So you can have the bigger player, but they're going to make this outcome. They're going to force the outcome to happen. In FIFA, let it be a corner shot. And I got, or not a corner shot, but a corner kick. And I have this tall, you know, I have a tall player on my squad, you know, whatever position he's at. His size is going to outclass the smaller player unless the ball is in a position where that small player can actually get to it. If the ball is at my height, and plus you can't use your hands either. So if the ball is at the height where my taller player can head it, he's heading the ball. He's winning that battle every time. It's not going to be a sequence that's going to play out where he's just going to win or he has a chance. He won't have a chance. You see what I'm saying? So if that player is out of position, he's not making a play. Just like what you saw from that pass, that catch from Evans. Evans essentially just concentrated on keeping his feet in bounds, and he used, like I just said a few minutes ago, his length. He used his arm span and his height and in his length to reach up, snag the ball, and control it. So that defender that was out of position, all reaching and pushing, he couldn't do anything about it. That right there, that kind of play is the kind of stuff that you see happen in FIFA because player size makes that kind of a difference. You don't have that kind of difference in Madden because it has to be a scripted sequence that has to play out. FIFA went away from the scripted sequencing years ago, and they have more organically modified animations, and everybody has their individuality when it comes to what they try to do, either to stop you on the ground or in the air. Madden needs that. Now, and then you want to talk about injury systems and dudes getting hurt in midair. I had a guy get, like, I said this like maybe a year or so ago. I had a player in FIFA, like FIFA 16. I had a player get an injury. He got a concussion because he tried to do a header and he headed on the guy's shoulder because of where his relative position was when the ball came coming in. And he headed on my man's shoulder. He hit his head on his shoulder, and he went down holding on his head. My man was out with a concussion. Like, that's crazy. But see, you don't have that in Madden, and these dudes could take these big-time hits, and they'll get right back up. Now, I mean, yeah, it happens in Madden. Of course, it happens in football in real life. But what I'm saying is, if you do it repeatedly in Madden right now, it's okay. There's no real, no one's going to get hurt. If anyone, the defender is going to get hurt for making the tackle. But the receiver, oh no, he doesn't get the pain. He doesn't really get hurt off of that. That kind of stuff we need in the game. And once again, these are things that are going to take time for Madden to develop. But at the same time, FIFA, it took them time to get it right too. And look where their game is at now because of the time they invested and took to build that out progressively. Madden has to do it. We can't see, just like what Majesty was saying, we can't sit here and handicap the game and be like, oh, what about the other areas they could have focused on? So what? They still have to build the game, build these elements out, and then go back to it. Or if you're able to do them at the same time, then build it all at the same time. That's, do what you have to do. But the game needs to innovate, regardless, and even in the face of people complaining. That must happen. So I'm throwing it back to you, Sim.
And we could pretty much wrap it with this, and then we'll briefly just discuss the Kevin Durant and Westbrook thing. That's not going to take a lot of time. But here's really what's happening in a nutshell. Just from what my eyes are seeing and just listening to, obviously, conversations that we can have that you guys aren't able to have. Here's the thing. Smitty said it. FIFA focused on a certain area. Took them several years to get it to where it's at, right? The transitional animations, the interactions, the ball physics, all that, beautiful. Even though there are other people who tell me, even OS just mentioned it, that there's still some shenanigans that happens from time to time. It's a game. I understand that. But the thing that you want to take from that, right, is people always want to go back to, well, but how long is it going to take? I'm going to be 100 by the time. Listen, here's the point with Madden. Rex has said several times in the public, man, there's so much stuff that we got to go rip out and then rebuild and then innovate at the same time without breaking stuff. That should tell you right there, listen, man, it's a lot of work. Madden had several years where there was nothing changing. It was the same thing or something was totally taken out and started back up. These guys get on board, and their vision has been consistent. Now, they know they have to address those interactions. How do they know that? We tell them all the time. Number two, how do they know that? Same thing we used to say about the synchronized catching. They tried to address that. They now have two-man sequences, and now, we've all pumped our chest out a little bit like, okay, we got that, but now we don't like how that works. See? So now, we wanted it to get there, and me and Smitty was one of the first two to say when they introduced it, even the idea before it dropped. This was before 16. When they said they was going to do that, we was kind of like, So that still means the animation has to start and end. So now it's like, how do we get it to where they can interact? It's not synchronized, and it's still a physics situation. Now they got to figure out how to do that. But my point is, Madden has had to do so much. They have had to address so much. Now they got to take the time to address that. It's just that simple. I don't think it's going to take that long. I just think it's a matter of, from us speaking to these guys, it's a matter of when they can do things based on priority. That's the realest thing I can say, honestly. We don't control the priority. All we do is try to control the priority. Get down, man. No. We try to control the priority by giving our opinion, right? That's all we can do. But I'm telling you, when they take the time out to do it, they can do it. Let's not forget that FIFA is an EA Sports product. So even though all of us, even Smitty and I and Azure, all of us have said in the past, why can't they just take, it ain't that easy. But I'm going to tell you what, when they're ready to do it, I'm pretty sure they're going to be able to get people in their own house to help them with it. You see what I'm saying? It'll happen. I can't tell you when, but they know what they have to do, but they have to follow their priority model. That's just that simple. So we could kill all of the conversations about how long is it going to take. I'm going to say this. Look at 2K. Beautiful game. Does it not suffer from the same problems? Let's be real for a second. The same biggest problems that we have with Madden, 2K has the same problems. The same exact problems. Transitional animation at times. Independent animations when there's two players. Balls morphing. Guys sliding. It's the same problem. So if you're going to ask that, and it's a fair question, but I got to ask them the same thing. When y'all going to fix that? You see what I'm saying? And I'm not, listen, hey, stop. I'm not trying to say that I'm not comparing the two games as far as where they are. I'm just saying the truth of it is they both have to address that. No excuses for 2K, no excuses for Madden. Y'all got to go get that. And that's why me and Smitty, we continue to push that agenda. Y'all see me do it all. Darn near every video I make about Madden, I slide that in some kind of way because I want it to be a broken record. Okay, we got to fix those things. Yeah, we got to. And we just got to keep saying it. You know, and like I said, my rebuttal to those guys who say, how long is it going to be? Stop playing the game then. Why don't you wait until it happens? Don't keep disappointing yourself every year. That's asinine. You know, I mean, we can't, if the game ain't what you want it to be, don't play it. That's all I would say. I'm going to just keep the fight going because, like I said, it don't cost me nothing to do this. But Smitty, man, as I try to get this little man straight, I know we're about to wrap up. What you think going to happen tonight, man, in a little while here when KD and, Russell see each other? They going to shake hands? Is it going to be a dead stare? You think Russell going to go at him on the court, which I believe he will? What can we expect from this first game, man, against the two former brothers, I guess you would say?
They're going to go at each other, like from a competitive standpoint, but I think it'll be all, everything will be respectful on the court. At least I believe. As far as them shaking hands, I don't know if they'll shake hands or not. I would think Russell would. I would think he would, especially as much standing up as KD did on his behalf, and all the pressers and stuff they've done in the past. But I don't know. We'll see, But I mean, especially seeing that Westbrook gets the ball like 90% of the time, I wouldn't be surprised if he's gonna have a few chances to go at KD. He may mess around and get a triple-double, but if the Warriors actually come out and defend, they'll mess around and win the game. They'll win it because they just don't have the talent. The whatchamacallits, the Thunder. They don't have nearly enough talent, and they haven't gelled yet. They're a brand new team coming out, so those guys got to gel. So
absolutely, I'm gonna get my quick piece on that. But before I do that, I just want to address a guy here in the chat because I would love to have you come on maybe next week and explain this. A lot of people always say this: 2K is so far beyond Madden, and he says it replicates basketball way better than Madden replicates football. But see, I have to challenge that point because I always say where 2K kills is with fluidity, animation quality, details, right? But the core gameplay, I'm just talking about basketball.
Yeah.
The core gameplay suffers from the exact same frustrating problems. lack of user control, selective ball tangibility, the body clipping and morphing, which all games have, but you got to throw it in there. The interactions, the two-man sequences. When you see it so many times, even in the streams I put up, when you go up for a shot and then they move you into this place to create enough, all of that stuff, it's the exact same things that we talk about in Madden. Player movement, they got Madden in that area. Give them that. And I'm not talking about bells and whistles. I'm talking about core basketball, core football. If both 2K and EA addressed those issues that I just laid out, both Madden and NBA 2K would be phenomenal. Then we can start comparing bells and whistles. But people always want to go to 2K with they blow Madden out the water in terms of it replicating. How? Like I said, they have the detail. They have that. But when the game overrides your input, or it doesn't respect the ball being pulled through a stomach, leg, and arm, and this guy still makes the shot, how can you say it's replicating the sport? You understand what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that it doesn't look like basketball. I'm talking about underneath. We look at it differently than most people. I will say that. Most people don't see all of the stuff that we look at. You know, I see people come in my streams all the time, and they be like, yo, man, I love when you stop the play because I would have never noticed that. And I get that. I don't expect everybody to be a stickler like me when it comes to that stuff. But I'm just saying, I'm just explaining to you. I'm not defending 2K or defending Madden. I'm just saying when it comes to replicating the physical body, relative position, transitional animation, ball tangibility, physics dictating the outcome, two-man sequence, Madden and 2K got the same exact problems in those areas. Identical. Mm-hmm. Some could actually say that Madden plays out a little more frequent or more consistent than 2K does in certain situations. There are some games I play 2K and I'm like, wow, I ain't really seen too much, negativity in that game. That was phenomenal. Then there's other games when it's like every other play. Like 2K can your pass, and they got the overhead and they got the regular, but how many times do you hit X on PlayStation, the regular pass, they float it, and the ball goes. How many times does that happen in a game? How many times did you have a clear lane? I just showed it in my stream, I think last night or the night before. Clear lane, I'm pressing to the right to do the right-hand layup. Nobody's there, using the basket as an extra, a shield. And then they forced my guy to shoot it with his left hand on the right side of the basket. I'm like, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. See, so that's all I'm saying. I just had to say that, man. And like I said, feel free, man. I would love for you to come on the show. If you watch this whole show, if you know how we do. It's dialogue. It's no beef. It's nothing like that. I just want you to explain, why you feel that way, because I could always rebut with that, because I could say, nah, it does look pretty, but it's got the same problems. It really does. It's got the same problems as far as the core. But let me go ahead and end it with this, man. I feel like what Smitty said as well. I don't think we might see a handshake. Maybe, if they're political. What I would love to see is Russ not shake his hand and put his competitive face on and go ball out. Then maybe after the game, maybe they could, be like, all right, man, whatever. But let's keep it 100 real quick. They're supposed to be boys, man. They're supposed to be like really friends. You understand what I'm saying? So it could be some personal emotion going on. So I'm not going to be mad. I'm not going to be the media and, they didn't speak. No, let's keep it real. If that man felt like personally, he didn't check, he didn't holler at him. He didn't call him and say, yo, Russ, I think I'm going to roll and I think I'm going to go over here. And that's supposed to be your homeboy. He might have some personal stuff that he is in his head. So I'm not going to blame him if they don't speak. I'm not going to blame him like that. But I expect to see an outstanding game. Like Smitty said, though, the Warriors got more weapons. If OKC wins, it's going to have to be Another one of them 40-point games. Like, I think Russell is averaging like 30 or 38 or something crazy right now in the first 4 games. That's the only way I see them winning that game because, I mean, in Oracle, you know, if KD still has any competitive fire, he has to show up as well. And I wanted to ask you this real quick, Smitty, too, before we go. Who is that has more pressure on him? I saw this on First Take earlier. Is the pressure more on KD to perform or Westbrook? My opinion here before you answer is I think it's on KD. I think it's going to be on KD this whole season through the championship. And notice I said through the championship. If they don't win, this is just my feeling. I could be in the minority. If they don't win a ring, I got to look at KD with 2 side eyes, not just one. I ain't mad at the fact that he left. Not mad at that. My biggest beef is I can't go rock with the team who I should have beat. I can't go join them. Not just yet. At least let me get one more year. I can't. To me, it's a sucker move. I'm not saying that man is a sucker. I just feel like, and I know, Smitty, that people gonna throw the LeBron situation, and I didn't like that either. I didn't like him building a powerhouse team. But arguably, if you're just looking at the facts, what KD did is a little worse. They had this team beat, so you know you and your boy had a chance to smoke these guys. And then on top of that, they set the record for the most wins ever. And you go join them. I ain't like that move. So if they don't win a ring, bruh, come on, son. Like, pressure is on him. I don't think there's any real pressure on Westbrook, in my opinion. But go ahead and close us out, Smitty.
All right. I'll say the pressure is only the only way pressure would be on Westbrook is if they were to meet in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's where the pressure would actually kick in on him because, you know, right now we're seeing him ball out, and it's only this is like the 5th game into the season right now. So this is nothing. I mean, it's an 82 game season, so it's way too many games to really, you know, see how things are going to gauge because how long is not KD Westbrook going to sustain this level of play? You know what I'm saying? But on KD's behalf, like you said, it's going to go all the way to if or when they make the finals, because they don't make the finals. And KD made this move, especially when he made it to the especially don't get bounced out before the conference finals, because you made it all the way there with Westbrook. And people will flame him and be like, man, you see how Westbrook was playing all year? Just think if KD stayed. Like, watch. They'd be drawing up all the situations like, oh, man, they would be in the playoffs. They probably would have went to the finals if he just stayed. So it's definitely on Durant. Not necessarily tonight. I mean, you know, it's whatever. It's regular season. But yeah, but as far as when it gets around, you know, April, May, and it's playoff time and all that, yeah, he's gonna have to step up, or else he's really gonna be under some fire. Like if them boys don't, as soon as the playoffs begin, it's championship or bust, or else kinds of eggs are gonna get laid on that man's head. So
you better win a ring, bro. That's all I can tell you. And I'm a KD fan. I think he's a great person.
Yeah,
what I hear, but bro. You're best to win. As a matter of fact, I said the same thing about LeBron. I think in the conversation that me and Smitty and Azure had when he did that, I said, man, they better win some rings then. I don't like that move. It is what it is. But you better go down there and become the biggest force in the East. They did. You know, they didn't win as many rings as they could have, but they went to the finals back to back to back to back. Can't take that from them. Got 2 of them. He has 3 rings now. I can't really knock him. KD, on the other hand, bro. But see, I ain't gonna go that far. I see somebody say they're no longer. Okay, listen, I'll close the show with this. I mean, everybody has their own personal opinions, but I don't know the man personally. If it's just not what I would have done. If it means that much to him, let's just say let's give him the benefit of the doubt. If he really wants to play with an unselfish team, quote unquote, that plays the right way, I can't knock him for that decision. To me, it just looks bad. It was bad timing. Bad timing, in my opinion. You just couldn't do it at the moment that you did it. And see, look at this, Smitty. Look at the comments here. You see how everybody has different opinions. My man here just says Madden 08 was his best Madden. See?
Hey.
I wouldn't say that. I think they were on to something, but I think 17 is the best Madden.
That now. Yeah,
no, I wouldn't say that
now.
But this is here we go again. Everybody has their own thoughts and opinions, which validates our point. Give us options. So everybody can create what they want. So that's all I got, Smitty, man. You got anything else before we sign off?
No, other than, thanks for everybody that came through. Pudget, Zulu, Kia, Majesty, everybody in the chat section. Thanks for hanging out with us for this bit of time here this week. And, definitely look forward to getting it in with y'all next week. So appreciate all of y'all coming through.
Absolutely. Appreciate all of you guys. I even appreciate reading your comments and trying to decipher them. Like my man Chandler here says, Madden 05 is the best Madden ever, in my opinion, for its time. That's a contradicting statement.
Yeah.
Ever, it's time. It's a contradicting statement. I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying that's a very contradicting statement in itself. But anyway, man, we appreciate all of you guys. If you're new to the channel, come sub. Go to Smitty's channel, sub him, but make sure you come back every Thursday. We usually here, except for week, Thanksgiving and stuff like that.
Right.
But we appreciate you guys. And now it's time for me to be daddy again. I'm sure Smitty has to do the same. We'll see you guys next week. Enjoy some football, and that's all we got. Peace.
Peace.